welcome back to another episode of The Lion's Den and our Blue Collar Ballers series. Today we speak with Luke Gibson, who is the CEO of Farm Fence Solutions. Now, that's not Luke's only company. He has several others, actually, sort of spin-offs, one could say, from his fence construction company. And those spin-offs each sell a specific sort of like product or tool or machine, all involved within the fence installation process. And so this was a really cool conversation where we uncover the possibility to, if you run a company, construction trades company specifically, and you're every day, you're doing this work, you're doing your installs, and you have an operational efficiency sort of engineering mindset like Luke does, you can actually uncover opportunities to create new products and take those products to market and sell those products to other fence companies like yourself, just by trying to improve upon the products you're using every day. So this is a really cool conversation, really smart guy. Hope you guys enjoy this one.
So Luke, you have built multiple businesses around the fencing industry. You've got Farm Fence Solutions, you've got ProTech Machinery USA. I'm reading these off of your website and your LinkedIn page. Meriwether Wire, Catchdog Tools. There's all these different companies. I want to dig into each of those and understand what they do and how you created them and why. But let's maybe start at the beginning. Was Farm Fence Solutions the first business that you started?
No. Farm Fence Solutions we went through a name change. Indiana Farm Fence is what we started as. But when we grew into, wanting to serve the nationwide market, the name didn't fit. So it was kind of a rebadging to fit more of what we were doing when we got into the reselling part.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's good for SEO in the early days, but then when you try to go outside the state, then it becomes a complication.
Yeah, we got lots of calls from Indiana, Pennsylvania. That was the only other place we got calls from. So
that's funny. And so how long have you been running that business, Farm Fence?
We started, we call it 2005. So 20 years.
Okay. 20 years. And then prior to that, did you work in fencing or did you do something else?
I did. I fenced. I wouldn't call it full time. I had a lawn care business from the time I was 7 up until I was in my early 20s, but did start fencing a little bit at 16. So there was fence in there, I guess, for the last 30 plus years. But we didn't make it a career until 2005. Okay.
And you're saying do you have partners as well?
My wife and I, in 05 is when we got together, and of course everything's a partnership from then on. Prior to that, I shot horses and had the lawn care business that I sold. So that was a little bit of running money for a few years to go ranch and rodeo and have a good time in my 20s. And then we started building the fence business.
Okay, cool. And so now you've got a ton of experience in the fencing world. So let's maybe, instead of digging into Farm Fence any further, I want to talk about maybe what was the next business you started? Was it ProTech Machinery?
ProTech Machinery USA would have come next. And ProTech Machinery Ltd. Started right around 2000, 2001, in the UK. So that's Steve Craddock and Andy Hooper started that business, and they are the partners on the ProTech USA.
So they started it in the UK.
Correct. ProTech Machinery, kind of the roots of ProTech Machinery come from the UK, and then of course the US, where we've joined forces to. I guess my role in the partnership is the practical experience. I mean, they have an engineering background and not a fencing background, and I've got a fencing background, so it fits where I can lend some ideas.
Okay, and ProTech Machinery is for fence post driving machinery.
Right? Yeah, post drivers. We build. I don't know if you've seen the track machines. So it's basically a self-contained one-man operation, but it's a total fencing rig. The track machines are, so stretching wire, building your braces, driving the post. They'll do it all.
Okay, gotcha. And so that is the machinery that you use for Farm Fence Solutions as you guys are working?
It is. Yeah, that's correct. So that's what we use in our contracting operation. And then we make some attachments as well. So skid steer and tractor attachments for post driving and wire stretching. Our biggest seller right now we call the FP150. It's a post driver that weighs less than 1,000 pounds. So it's made to fit like the Bobcat MT100, the mini skid steer market. And we're selling those faster than we can build them at the moment. But it's turned into a kind of the boom of the commercial and residential side is gone. They call it no dig. We've just always called that fence from the ag side because we don't dig. We've always driven to post. But that's kind of taken the industry by storm. And so to fill that need, we've developed the FP150. And it's, man, you talk about a super efficient one-man post driving rig. It's just awesome. Drive a 14-foot post clear down to, you can drive an 8-foot post 4 foot into the ground.
Mm-hmm. So help me understand this. Was it, you started Farm Fence Solutions, you're running that business, you were basically just procuring equipment from ProTech Machinery in the UK, and then you realized, hey, this is awesome, I want to sell this in the US, and so you partnered with those guys? Is that how that happened?
Yeah. Former employee, good friend, Bart Sparks, that he worked for us for about 15 years. He and I built the first of our track machines. It didn't even fit in our shop at the time. So that's how small of a shop we ran out of. But once we got that first one built, and it was crude, and it was really crude. But that machine is still, it's still in use in Alabama. But once we got that first machine built and saw the efficiency that came with it, I made a trip over to visit the guys in the UK, get to see what they had going on, and that was kind of the very beginning of the Evo line. So the Evo 1, Evo Compact 220B. That was right about the time they started, is when we got our first one. So
interesting. Okay. And so then is ProTech Machinery, is that like the US division of the UK company, and you kind of like help run the US division? Like, help me understand exactly what this is.
Yeah, so we service the entire North American market from here in Indiana, and that's my duty, is to run that. We import some from the UK, and then there are some machines that we build entirely in-house. The only thing, like the FP150, of course, we source our hydraulic components like valving and rams, and we take we send them out. That's 5 miles down the road for powder coat. Everything else is cut, welded, assembled. We make our own hoses. That's all done in-house. So it's kind of it's a mix of things that we get direct from the UK. Sometimes it's a parts package that we assemble. Sometimes it's a fully assembled machine, all the way up to totally building it in-house.
And why did you decide to go down that road instead of just focusing on Farm Fence Solutions and just doing more fence work?
Well, the sad reality was my health in 2016. I had a couple of vertebrae that have given me problems forever. And then that resulted in some discs that were bulging. And so I got to the point I couldn't pick a fence post up. And so it was an act of desperation, to be honest with you. I had to figure out some way to support my family. And we thought that it would be in wire sales initially. But as it turned out, probably the thing that I'm best at is efficiency. I can look at most situations and figure out a better way to do it. I may not figure out the best way to do it, but I can see a better way. And so that turned out to be where I was most valuable, and it was helping other contractors get to that efficiency. So it all just it was unplanned. We didn't ever really plan on selling equipment. We definitely didn't ever plan on building any. The goal in 2016, when we when we changed from Indiana Farm Fence to Farm Fence Solutions was wire production. That was what we wanted. That was our goal. That's what we wanted to achieve.
Gotcha. Just a quick aside on the efficiency thing, because I'm the same way, and it's sort of a blessing and a curse. I don't know if you have that experience where, like,
It is, yeah.
So, yeah. For example, I was like at the airport the other day after a flight, and I was waiting to get my luggage, and everybody just like goes right up next to the luggage belt to get their luggage. And if everybody just stood 10 feet back, we would all be able to see the luggage belt. And then when you see yours, you could just walk towards it and get it. It's like there's simple societal inefficiencies where when you have the type of mind that we do, you're just like, oh my God, I want to smack my head against a wall right now. This is so crazy.
Yeah, traveling is the worst. It just, wildly inefficient.
Totally.
Same goes when you're, getting on the airplane or, wherever you're going to sit. You would think that the baggage storage above you, that should be yours, instead of getting there and they're all full. Yeah, so
that's true. Okay, so interesting. I was not expecting desperation to be the reason for starting ProTech Machinery, but okay, that makes sense. Let's talk about one of the other companies that you have. So Merriweather Wire, was that something that you also kind of started at the same time out of desperation, thinking that you were going to sell wire?
No, so that's actually where it started, was with selling wire. And it was a British company, Tornado Wire is who we started with, and they approached us to see if we would be interested in. I guess that's not entirely true. It was a bit of a falling out with my prior wire supplier. The salesman, he was just having a bad day. But anyway, he told me to find somewhere else to buy my wire, so I started shopping. And Tornado Wire had a USA website, and so I sent an email to see what it looked like to get some inventory. And at that point, they had no inventory in the U.S., but asked me if I would come over for a visit. And that's the same visit that I first stopped in to visit the guys at ProTech Machinery. But that was in the fall of 2016. So the first of their wire I put my hands on was actually on a hillside in Wales with John Morgan and Cy Gibbs. Built some fence with them one day. So that's the first time I touched their stuff, and it's good. So we worked out a deal, and kind of the goal the entire time was to build enough of a market that we could justify some U.S. production, and then we would end up with a small piece of that. One thing led to another, and the former owner, I don't begrudge him a bit. It's like I tell people, it was Powerball money. So he got an offer, and he didn't include us in the exit. And the new CEO came to visit and said, we're just going to sell it to anybody that wants it direct. And so we had to find an alternate that just doesn't fit what we do. Farm Fence Solutions, we kind of there are a few things that we'll buy that other people can get first. Not very often, though. We like to have some sort of that unique selling proposition. We like to have some sort of I don't know if it's a grip on the proprietary end of things, or at least some sort of exclusivity. I don't want to ever fall into just selling the same stuff that everybody else does. I don't want to compete in that market. And so that's what that was going to drive us to do. And then we were basically, once they sold to private equity, quality control gets more difficult, and we didn't have our hands on it, so we couldn't do anything about it. Inventory became a real issue. We really needed to be making it in the States. And so I went on the hunt and found the right family, and here we are today.
So Merriweather Tools is their wire. Merriweather Wire is still in existence today. You just have a different supplier.
No, Merriweather Wire. That's the company that we started.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we started. Our first wire loom has been online now for about 13 months in the States. Mm-hmm. But my partner on that. It's a family. JSM is the company in Portugal, and they are 100% hands-on. They have the most modern wire manufacturing factory that I've ever been in, and I've been in a bunch of them. And so just knowing how efficient that they run and how driven they are to provide a good product at a good price and to get the volume out there. Don't get me wrong, there's growing pains. There's always growing pains, but having that access to be able to communicate with those people that have the answers, that have been through the situations, is priceless.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating that, you mentioned a couple different partnerships now, UK, I think you said Scotland for one, where you were putting some fence around some Angus beef, and then and
that
now
was
you
Wales.
mentioned
It was sheep. Yeah, that was in Wales.
That was Wales.
Wales, and it was sheep. Yeah.
Okay, and now you've mentioned Portugal. So what's up with the European sort of connection? Is that because you're trying to get unique stuff that doesn't exist here in the U.S. sort of like naturally, or what's the deal?
Well, on the post-driving end of things, we needed something that was refined. And once we built that first machine, and I think I had maybe less than $40,000 in it, and it was rough. And there's no way you can, take that to market as rough as that was. And so I guess it was what we built was better equipment than what was available commercially anywhere in the U.S. So the post driving, we've been so far behind on all of our fence equipment and our fence techniques. So like what this all morphed into was our quality being driven. Like once you start fencing with those guys around the world, you realize how little you know, or how bad you really are at it. And that's where the Farm Fence Solutions brand really started to grow, was when we were able to communicate that, the quality or the techniques to get to that quality to the contractor base here in the U.S. But our equipment was so far behind, and I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to get, taken from crayon drawings to steel that was welded and painted and functioned. And finding the right people to help you with that. Just Steve Craddock he's the man. I can send him a pretty gnarly drawing, and he cleans it up. And the next thing you know, we've got an engineered, whether it's a track machine or a post driver or whatever it should be. He's brilliant with the engineering side of things. So that was the main driver on the equipment front, was just wasn't available here.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get anything that good.
Got it. Okay. And you get some nice, vacations over to Europe that you can put through the business.
I used to look at it like that. No, I spend a few months a year abroad, and it's starting to wear on me. I'd rather be home.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so one other business that I saw in there was Catch Dog Tools. So what is that business, and when did you start that, and why?
We've been building tools as long as we've been fencing, and just had some things that guys kept asking for. Our spinning jennies are arguably the most popular in the market. Our spades, same thing. We've got the best digging spade available here in the U.S. There's a couple guys in New Zealand that make what I consider to be better ones, but that's a goal. Definitely set to get to their level. But just a lot of small ideas that are easy to make. And for us, I mean, we're having CNC equipment, and I'm no engineer, but I know my way around the CAD program enough to build the simple stuff. And we needed a name, and we've had dogs and hunted and all that forever, so it was a fitting name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to take everything that you've said and kind of put it together into a story. It sounds like because of your efficiency focus, you're running this fence business, and every tool that you procure, every piece of equipment, all the wire, whatever that you procure and you're using every day, you're thinking to yourself, this could probably be better. This could probably be more efficient. And that led you to sort of look around what else is out there. And it led you down these paths where not only did you find something better, but in many cases you partnered with that something better and now sell that something better because other fence companies in the US don't have access to it. That's fascinating. I don't think I've spoken to any sort of construction trades business owner who has done that, who has become basically like, yeah, we have our installation company, but then we also have this whole other engineering side of our business where we're just trying to bring better products and create better products and bring them to market. There's no question there. I just think it's super cool.
Yeah, that's a great explanation of our business. And on the installation side, it's less and less every year. We still do a lot of post driving on big commercial stuff because we've got the equipment. We've got a substantial fleet of rental machines, so we can bring those in if we've got a big job to do and we need to take 5 big post drivers to go knock out. If we've got to drive 100,000 posts, well, we're one of the few people that can handle that. But when we do that, I might take one of our shop guys, but generally we're gonna get other contractors to come in, and we're just gonna sub them on, pay them a day rate, and it's we try to pay insanely good because we only ask the A team to come in on jobs like that, and I feel like that's important to do those kinds of things. It builds a little bit more camaraderie if you get to work alongside those guys. But the really important part about keeping my hand in the contracting side is I get to put hands on our equipment, and I get to put hands on the material that we make. So a lot of those deer fence specs that go around the solar fields, that's kind of the big thing right now. Our wire machine's been running 8-foot fence since Christmas, and there's no end in sight. So we're supplementing that off the other machines, but the primary fixed knot machine, that's just what it's been running. So we get to put our hands on, as a quality check is one thing, but then the smaller jobs that we'll take, I do some cell towers. So I'm not a big chain link guy, but it helps to develop, new product lines. This is another thing, seeing things that need changed. And I've got a list of things that could be changed in chain link, like just totally wasteful fittings coming from the ag side. That's where it's kind of aggravates some people when you tell them that, but any fence contractor should go spend some time with the best ag guy they can find, because that's where you'll find some efficiency. We're talking 2-man crews that consistently build a half a mile a day. And I mean, they do it 5 days a week, and, nobody's dying because of it. And then, back that up to watching residential crews that there might be 4 or 5 guys on a job and 3 people hanging off of a post driver, standing on ladders, and all these things that you could fix if you would just spend $50,000. It'd be safer, you'd be faster, you'd be way more profitable. All the things that you can fix, just go watch an ag crew work. The efficiency is just wild.
That is interesting. Okay, very good advice. Another thing I want some advice on, I would say, and a lot of our listeners are construction trade business owners. Okay, you and many of them are looking to scale, and so you've presented this interesting scaling opportunity where you're basically scaling into products, producing products, selling products, that sort of thing. So you've got, you're involved in, we talked about 4 different businesses. They're all tangentially related and whatever, but it's still 4 different businesses. What does your typical day or week look like? I mean, you're the owner. What do you focus all of your time on?
Well, mostly product development. is where I spend my time. And so sales comes along with that. So I spend probably 5 or 6 hours a day on the phone, on an average day, just to answer all the questions. It doesn't matter how many videos or spec sheets you put out. People still have a lot of questions. And, at the end of the day, if you don't take the time to talk with them and develop that relationship, I never wanted to be a salesman. So I probably take a little bit more time than I should, but we've got a 3-bedroom apartment above our office at our shop. And that's the reason for that. There's really no hotels close, but we like contractors to come and visit, see what we do. If you've got questions about how to do, whatever technique it is that you're struggling with, we've got mountains of material and, places to practice. And, so things like that are where I spend the majority of my time. I make deliveries, depending on the customer and what they need. Try to make I'll make it as efficient as possible. So yesterday I delivered a trailer load of post to a good customer of ours, and he's got a new ProTech Evo machine that had one cylinder that was kind of acting funny. It turned out it was air in the line, but I went and fixed that and picked up some material for a cell site. I'm on my way to go check that out today to make sure that they're ready for us to go on Monday. And I'll spend a couple days a week in Bowling Green, Kentucky, is where our Merriweather Wire Factory is. So kind of my standard week is to go down on Sunday night, spend all day Monday and most of the day Tuesday, and then come home and get started here. I usually work 6 days a week, so Saturdays are full days for me.
That explains part of it. Okay, so
I don't mind that. Some people are wired different. I think as long as you keep a work-life balance, then you're good. And we've got a 17-year-old daughter, and we have this discussion on a regular basis. If you want to make a change, we can make a change. I'm not at every game. I'm not at every wrestling match. I'm not at every track meet. I get to as many of them as I can. I might be late, or I might have to leave early. But my daughter gets to go. She's been all over the world. She's going to New Zealand. This will be her second time to New Zealand. We leave in May and go down for the field days, the Golden Pliers fencing competition. She's got friends all over the world. So we get there and I dump her off and I see her in a week. But we get that time together. To me, it's way more valuable time than, I saw you for 10 minutes, and she believes it too. So.
Yeah, you do have to deal with the inefficiencies of travel, though, on that 24-hour flying experience to get to New Zealand.
Well, that's the thing. Going, it's 3 days to get there, but coming home, you actually gain some time. So
there you go.
You land before you take off coming home.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I want to wrap things up here. I will definitely link to all your different websites for all the different companies, because it sounds like a lot of people who listen to our show may want to buy some of those materials or tools or machines or whatever from you guys, since you have the best in the States available. Is there anything else we did not hit on that you want to talk about? Challenges scaling your company, leadership dynamics, anything like that? Or you think we're good?
No, I mean, I can talk as long as you want to. I think the secret to what I'll call success, and I feel like we've been successful, is to not quit. It really is darkest before the dawn. But the secret is being able to eat that pressure and turn it into something useful. If you want steel, it takes a hot fire and iron, and it's got to go in the forge, and then you got to pound it out, and it's got to go back in the forge, and you got to pound it out, and it's got to go back in the forge, and before you know it, you've got high carbon steel. And I think too many people, they get started and then it gets tough. Well, it's going to be tough. It usually starts off pretty easy because you're coming out of a job, and you've got all these people want you to do it. You've been part-time in it, or it's a side hustle, and you got all this work stacked up. Well, then you forgot that you need to market, or if you're going to scale it, that you've got to hire people, and everybody's on the equipment side. And I get it. That it was really tough for me. The first machine that we bought, the first track machine, that was tough. The 45 that have come after that have been easy. Once you see what efficiency does for your bottom line, man, if you're making money, you got to spend some of it, or the tax man's going to get it all. So you might as well have some efficient equipment and just keep rolling that into more money. Then you build a better shop, and it's a vicious cycle. And your kids are going to have to pay an inheritance tax is the plan, but that's on them, you know?
Yep. That makes sense.
So awesome. my advice would be just don't quit.
Don't quit.
It'll get easier. There'll be easier days, but there's going to be harder days in front of you too. I seriously doubt that I've seen my hardest day.
Yeah. That's a good outlook. Cool. Well, Luke, thank you, man. I appreciate it. A lot of wisdom, a lot of interesting things to think about. Again, like I said, you're the first person I've talked to who has expanded their business in such a way with the engineering and the product and stuff. I think it's super cool. We will link to all your different websites in the show notes. And otherwise, thank you for joining me in the Lion's Den.
Hey, thanks a bunch for having me. I really appreciate it.